Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated if you're able. Silence your cell phones, and we're now ready for the presentation of the Lord's Prayer.
Please remain standing. We are going to have Sergeant Jack Baker present the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you. You may be seated. First of all, I want to thank Sergeant Baker. We are honored with your presence here today. He is a high school classmate of Justice Rowe, and they attended Oklahoma Boys State together while seniors in high school. Thank you very much, Sergeant Baker. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Supreme Court of the State of Oklahoma. This is a very special occasion. We are honored to have you present here today for the formal swearing-in ceremony of Justice Dustin Rowe. This magnificent courtroom that you are now seated in has been fully restored to have the look and feel of the courtroom as it would have been in 1917 when the State Capitol building was opened. It is now my privilege to introduce to you the members of our court. My name is Noma Gurich, and I have the honor and privilege of serving as the Chief Justice of the Oklahoma Supreme Court. To my right is Vice Chief Justice Richard Darby from Duke. To my left, our Senior Justice on the court, Justice Yvonne Cogger from Colony. Next on my right is Justice James Winchester from Chickasha. Next on my left is Justice James Edmondson from Muskogee. Next on my right is Justice Tom Colbert from Tulsa. Next on my left is Justice Douglas Combs from Shawnee. And next on my right is Justice John Kane from Pawhuska. Our newest justice will be seated to my left in a few minutes. I look across this room and there are a lot of people in this room. That is such a tribute to our court and to Justice Rowe. Thank you so much for filling it up. There are so many people that are important here today, and I'm going to try to introduce some of those. And I would ask that you allow me to introduce groups of people and hold your applause until I've tried to introduce everyone. First of all, I want to acknowledge Governor Stitt, and and I don't see the First Lady today. Also, Lieutenant Governor Matt Pinnell, and we have Speaker of the House Charles McCall. We also have some other statewide elected officials, and I see that Cindy Bird, our state auditor inspector, is here. Are there any other statewide elected officials that I've missed? Then let's go ahead and recognize this group. From the state legislature, I do not know how many are here, but if you are a member of the state legislature, and I know they're in session right now, would you please make yourself known other than our speaker who's here? And I see a hand back here, a couple of hands. Thank you all very much for being here. I'm not sure I can exactly, you want to call out your names? Why don't you do that? All right, thank you all very much. Let's recognize our legislators. And now we have our other appellate courts. First, from the Court of Criminal Appeals, we are pleased to have presiding Judge David Lewis. We also have Judge Gary Lumpkin and Judge Scott Rowland. In the Court of Civil Appeals, I'm trying not to be challenged here. We have Chief Judge Jane Wiseman and Vice Chief Judge Barbara Swinton. And we have Judge Bittner, Judge Fisher, Judge Gorey, Judge Barnes, and Judge Mitchell. Thank you all. Did I miss anybody? Taylor. All right, Justice Taylor, a retired justice from our bench, is also here. Justice Taylor. Are there any members of the Oklahoma judiciary that are here that I have not introduced? Trial judges, you want to stand up as a group? You have 2 seconds, quick. I don't believe we have any members of the federal judiciary that are here today that I see, but we do have, from the congressional delegation, we have a retired Congressman, Wes Watkins. And I don't believe I've missed anybody else in that category. And then I want to also recognize from the Chickasaw Nation, Governor Bill Anatubby, and do we have Lieutenant Governor Anatubby present? Members of the Chickasaw Supreme Court, any justices here? All right, thank you. And any members of the Chickasaw Legislature? Thank you very much. All right, at this time, I will recognize Governor Stitt to make a few remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chief Justice. May it please the court, it is an honor to be with you today for the swearing in of my second Oklahoma State Supreme Court. We're so proud of you and Nicole and what you mean to the state of Oklahoma. I was thinking about Justice Rowe and his character. I was reminded of the verse Micah 6:8, which says, "He has showed you, O man, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you, but to act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God." And I believe this verse defines Justice Rowe. Justice Rowe is a humble man who fears God and will deliver justice based on compassion, wisdom, and a commitment to the rule of law. He has been a strong leader that has displayed a heart for mercy and justice in both his career and his community. I mean, this is a guy that at 18 years old, I believe is still a senior in high school, decides to run for mayor of his hometown and wins. And he's just been involved and active ever since. And so it's no secret to probably those that knew him back in high school that he's sitting up here right now. And I'm sure there's a few of you in this room that knew him back then. So I'm confident that he will serve our people and our state with integrity in order to support and defend the Oklahoma Constitution in the way it was intended to be interpreted and uphold the rule of law. And I know those folks behind you are going to be excited to have you join them as colleagues. And we're proud of you. Oklahoma's proud of you. You are going to be a wonderful justice. And I'm so happy that you're going to be sitting on this court. So thank you.
I will now make my way down in front and administer the oath of office to Justice Rowe. Justice Rowe's wife, Nicole, will hold the Bible for the oath.
I, Dustin Rowe,
Do solemnly affirm
that
I will support, obey, and defend
the
Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Oklahoma,
and the Constitution of the State of Oklahoma,
and that I will not knowingly receive,
directly or indirectly,
any money or other valuable thing
for the performance or non-performance
of any act or duty
pertaining to my office
other than the compensation
allowed by law.
I further affirm
that I will faithfully discharge my duties
as Justice of the Supreme Court of Oklahoma
to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God. Wow, thank you. Is there anyone from Tishomingo here? We were back in the Rowe room, and someone said, well, who's manning Tishomingo? I said, I don't know. The chief of police is here. I am very honored to see so many of my fellow Oklahomans here today on this day that is so important to Nicole and me and to our family. And I want to begin by thanking you, Governor Stitt, for the confidence you've placed in me. It is very moving, and I'm very humbled, and I will do all I can to live up to the expectations that is required of me to serve on this court. You and the First Lady have treated Nicole and I with grace, and we are just very honored by the trust that you've allowed us to serve on this court. I also want to say thank you to my colleagues on the Oklahoma Supreme Court. I didn't know what to expect when I arrived at the court. I didn't know any of my colleagues personally, but everyone has treated me with dignity and respect, and it is a very collegial body, and it is one that I'm honored to serve on, and these are distinguished jurists of which I'm honored to serve with, and I thank them for all the courtesies that they have shown to me. I want to share with you just a few thoughts this afternoon. As I prepare to begin this job in earnest, I'm reminded Nicole is a kindergarten teacher in Tishomingo, and she's often recited to me a poem that she teaches her class, All I Need to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. And I have kind of thought about that, and I think all I need to know I learned in Tishomingo. And I want to tell you a little bit about Tishomingo because it is the foundation of my life. First off, it's where my family is. Nicole, Price, and Madison, we established our home in Tishomingo, and I look at Tishomingo and I think everything I have, everything we have came from the good people of that community. Nicole has just been such a wonderful homemaker for Price and Madison and me, and the people of Tishomingo have been wonderful. The teachers of Tishomingo, I'm a product of Tishomingo Public Schools. I learned to read in the first grade in Tishomingo. Had Mrs. Walker not taught me to read, I could not serve on the court. And some of my teachers are here today. I saw Mrs. Lanier, Mrs. Harbert, Mr. Dittner, and some others, and I'm very proud of the foundation that my school teachers in Tishomingo laid in my life. I also want to pay honor to the Tishomingo Dairy Queen. Have any of you here been to the Dairy Queen? My grandparents moved to Tishomingo in 1968 and bought the Dairy Queen. And it was at the Dairy Queen that the Rowe family learned how to work. My grandparents worked and raised their children at the Dairy Queen. My mom and dad worked at the Dairy Queen and raised us. It was the first job I had, and when I look around the room, I know many of you worked at the Dairy Queen. It was the place to work. But I'm very honored that I learned how to work, and I learned how to work hard. And I'm thankful for those lessons. I'm thankful for what they mean to my family. I'm thankful for my parents who are here today, and my sister is here, my brother-in-law. My brother is not able to be here, my mother and father-in-law, Nicole's grandparents. There's so many family that have joined us today, and I'm very honored. I was first introduced to the Supreme Court as a law student at OU when Justice Opala asked me to, or didn't ask me, I asked him, can I work for you, Justice Opala? And he said yes. And he put me down in the basement in this building in a windowless room down here on the east side. And I thought a lot about Justice Opala because of his life. Justice Opala was born in Poland. And when Poland was defeated by Nazi Germany, Opala, then a teenager, joined the Polish underground, and he fought Hitler's Nazi army. And he was eventually captured and was a POW, and he was being marched across Europe, and he ended up in what is now present-day Czechoslovakia. And he hid for days in bales of hay. And he was emaciated, and he was malnourished, and he was close to death when he heard through the bale of hay English voices, and he knew they were American soldiers. And the American army rescued him and one of the young soldiers' family sponsored him, and he moved to Oklahoma, and he rose to become a justice on this court. And he had a master of the English language because it was not his first language, so he mastered it as his third language. He spoke many languages. And Justice Opala gave an interview that is on OETA archives, and he gave this interview shortly before he passed away in 2010. And the interviewer asked him, "Why is the First Amendment so important to you?" And Justice Opala said, "The First Amendment and its protection is so important to me because I lived without it for all of my childhood under Nazi Germany rule over my home country." And the interviewer said, "Well, what was your favorite case or the most important case you ever had come before the court?" And Justice Opala said, "Well, it was a case that I did not write the opinion on, but it was a case that I'm most proud of." And of course, the case was interesting. A lady out in western Oklahoma erected a billboard on the side of the highway that said, "Impeach Chief Justice Earl Warren and get the U.S. out of the UN." And the highway department challenged that sign in district court. And the district court in western Oklahoma ruled that the First Amendment protected this lady's right to erect the billboard, that it was a right of her free speech. The state appealed that decision to this court, and it was affirmed. And Justice Opala said he was never so proud when the United States Supreme Court declined certiorari on that case. And I want to quote him today when the interviewer asked him, "What do you want your legacy to be?" He said, quote, "A legacy of service and a legacy of contribution to the values that are so important to our preservation as a free nation. And among those values is the freedom to express one's view." I'm honored today to take my seat on a court and to preserve and protect our great Constitution, among which are the many rights that we cherish as a free people. I also want to thank the Chickasaw Nation Supreme Court. For the last 14 years, I served as a judge on the trial bench. And the Chickasaw Nation has been a great foundation layer in my life, and I appreciate the trust that was bestowed upon me to sit in judgment of many good people. And I'm honored that I was entrusted with that, and I'm proud to bring those values to the court of hard work that I learned on the trial bench. Governor Stitt, I think you read my notes, because of all the scriptures that have been brought to my mind, I want to go back to Micah 6. I first heard Micah 6 as a college student when I was Congressman Wes Watkins' district director in Ada, Oklahoma. And when Wes would come to the district, I would drive him to all of the town hall meetings, and I would help him. And Governor, if he quoted Micah 6 one time, he quoted it dozens and dozens of times. In fact, it became sort of cliche to me, Wes, hearing you quote Micah 6. But at the time, he told his constituents that he felt like it was an appropriate scripture to model his life after as the congressman for eastern Oklahoma. And I haven't thought much about it in the last 20 years, although I will never forget Wes's quoting that verse in that chapter. But in December, when the governor appointed me, I received a text from Judge Landreth, the retired judge in Pontotoc County. And, you know, as a young lawyer, you never know what to expect from judges. But I remember the first time I appeared in front of Judge Landreth. He was the district judge. I was a baby lawyer. I didn't know where the courthouse was. And I was nervous. And I sat very quietly on the back row, and after I finished and the court had adjourned, he said, "Mr. Rowe, would you approach the bench?" And I thought, what have I done? And he leaned over the bench and he put his hand out and he said, "It's an honor to have you in my courtroom." And that touched me because it was such an act of humility that he did not owe as a seasoned district judge to a baby lawyer that didn't even know where the courthouse was. Judge Landreth sent me a text in December when he saw your press release, Governor. He said, "Congratulations, Dustin." He said, "Don't forget Micah 6:8. What is required of us? To walk humbly with our God." I can't think of a better rule of thumb for a judge. or a justice. In closing, let me ask all of you, please come over to the Judicial Center just across the street. We have a beautiful reception. I want to visit with you. Nicole wants to visit with you. And I want to say how thankful I am for that beautiful building. What a magnificent building that we are blessed to have house our judiciary. And to Justice Cogger and her foresight, the governors she worked with, the legislature over the years, and the taxpayers that pay for that building, thank you. It's a beautiful building. And as you know, in any government setting, everyone wants a view of the Capitol. That dome is beautiful. So I thought, well, where will my view be? Well, I have a view of the Capitol. Well, Governor, I don't. I don't have a view of the Capitol. Justice Taylor called me and said, Dustin, there's one office left, and it's on the south side. It has a beautiful view of downtown Oklahoma City. And so I was anxious to see it. I had never been in the building behind the foyer. And the Chief Justice has been so gracious. She called and invited Nicole and me, and we drove up to the Judicial Center, and we toured the building, and I finally said, Chief, can I see my office? And she took me down the hall, and sure enough, I have a beautiful office. I will show it to you if you come over. And when I look out the window, I have a view of downtown Oklahoma City, and it's very beautiful. But when I look out that window, I'm looking south toward home. I'm looking toward Tishomingo. And I'll tell you, my fellow Oklahomans, I'll never forget where I came from. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You may be seated. I'll tell you, it is so nice to look down both directions of this bench and have a full house. And we have so needed to fill these spaces, and we appreciate it. Judicial Nominating Commission, I think some of those members are here, and Governor Stitt and your staff, and it's really nice to have everyone at home now. So, speaking of home, we are across Lincoln in what is known as the Old Historical Society. You'll see that at the top. It's now the Oklahoma Judicial Center. The reception is on the third floor of that building. There's parking around the building and across the street. If you want to walk across Lincoln, if you have someone driving in this rain, you might have them drop you off at the building. We really do want you to come. Justice Rowe has planned a very nice party with live chamber music and refreshments. And the one thing you want to make sure that you come and see and perhaps take a photo of is the magnificent historic punch bowl. And if you turn your program over, you'll see a little story about that punch bowl. So we would very much like to have you come join us for this afternoon, and we appreciate you being here today. It's been a grand day. It's a great day for the state of Oklahoma. We are now adjourned. Thank you.